Okie doke. We are on chapter 7. Pinmai felt like the walls of the gong were pressing into her, forcing the air from her lungs. Burn the place? Burn the hut? Burn her home? As the men left the hut and the night filled with noises of bellowed orders, horses, and stomping boots, Pinmai squeezed her head into her knees, the blackness creeping over her as she trembled. Can't you just imagine, where she is right now? She's inside this little space. She's got her knees bunched all the way up to her face, and she's squeezing really, really tight. Sounds terrifying. Pinmai! Pinmai! Yishan was whispering desperately. Where are you? Her throat refused to make a noise, but Pinmai's quaking hand reached upward. The tray Amma had placed over the gong's opening clattered to the floor, and in seconds Yishan was dragging Pinmai out of the gong. Pinmai! Yishan said, shaking her. We have to get out of here. Do you hear me? Pinmai nodded. The icy, thatched roof made a sizzling sound, and she realized it was already beginning to flame. They're burning the hut, Pinmai whispered. This hut is made out of mountain stone, Yishan told her. It won't burn fast, but still, we have to leave. Pinmai looked at the door and the windows and could see only the lit torches, balls of fire rolling and spinning madly around the house like toy yo-yos. How? She asked, helplessly. Yishan, standing on a storage box, was already sweeping the bowls and cups off the shelves above the gong, letting them smash to pieces on the floor. Fiercely, he ripped the shelves off the wall, revealing a window closed in with ancient shutters and dirt. He grabbed a plank to cover the opening of the gong, pulled himself up to sit on it, and began to kick at the window with such force that the dirt flew over Pinmai like rain. Torches flew into the front room, crashing against the walls. As one rolled into the pile of fallen silk, Pinmai stared as the fabric smoldered and curled, the flames sputtering as if gasping for air. Just as the burning smell began to choke her, a cold, clean wind blew. Yishan had succeeded. A square of night sky, the same deep blue of the stolen rabbit rice bowl, was framed on the storage room wall. Come, Yishan said, thrusting his hand at her, almost violently. Pinmai took another long look at her home, but only a sea of flames, crackling orange and red, met her eyes. Pinmai! Yishan said again. She turned towards him, and he grabbed her hands. Chapter 8. In the morning, the angry wind returned with the sun. Even inside the thick walls of Yishan's hut, Pinmai could hear its constant roaring, like the crashing waves of a sea storm. She sat silently, listening to it. You should really eat something, Yishan said, handing her a small bowl of rice. Pinmai remembered those hands clutching around Amma's prized bowl. This is mine, the emperor had said. He was the emperor, Pinmai said, closing her eyes as the violence of the evening washed over her. Who was the emperor? Yishan said. Pinmai opened her eyes. The white steam from her rice gently reached toward her, its heat warming her hands. I imagine that's kind of what it looked like. The soldier in green, she said. The one who threw me around as if I was an empty gourd? Yishan asked. What about him? Stuttering, Pinmai told Yishan what she had seen. But why did he take Ma? Yishan said after Pinmai had finished. He wouldn't take her to work on the wall. What does he want? He wants a luminous stone that lights the night, Pinmai said slowly, remembering the glint in Ama's eyes. Maybe the Emperor thinks Ama can get it for him? Yeah, a luminous stone, Yishan said, his voice trailing. His clothes, still slightly damp from their recent washing, had returned to their usual cinnabar color. I wish I could remember. Remember what? Pinmai asked. If only I could remember, Yishan started, and he stopped to look at Pinmai. I feel like I should know what a luminous stone is. There must be a way we can find out. Pinmai shrugged. It's not as if we have the paper of answers, like Ama's story, she said. I don't remember that either, Yishan said. What's the paper of answers? The story of the paper of answers. Long ago, when the city of bright moonlight was called the city of far remote, the new king arrived. He was about to marry one of the emperor's granddaughters, and with the marriage he would be given rule of the city. It did not seem much of a gift. The bordering Jade River constantly flooded, sweeping away the strongest of walls as if flicking a lock of hair. Those who survived the floods lived in poverty and despair. When the new king first surveyed the land that was soon to be his, he must have felt resentment to be the ruler of such a place. However, when his men accidentally knocked over an old, bent man carrying buckets of water, the king insisted on stopping. To everyone's great surprise, the king gave the man his arm and picked up the fallen buckets. Hey there, let me help you with these, the new king said. Do you fill these at that well over there? Oh, you're very kind, the old man said. Even though most nobles and kings were not known for their strength, the king lifted the heavy buckets of water with ease. Carrying water is not easy work. Oh, I've done this before, the king told him. And you remind me of an old friend. Do I now? The old man said to him. The king bowed goodbye and returned to his sedan chair. Just as the chair began to move away, the old man caught the king's sleeve. If I were an old friend of yours, the old man whispered, I would tell you that when your father offers you a wedding gift, you say you want the paper inside the mouth of his tiger statue. The new king stared, open-mouthed, but the sedan chair was already moving away at a gallop. And when the king turned back to look, the old man was gone. So that evening, when his father offered a wedding gift, the young king asked for the paper inside the mouth of the tiger statue. His father was taken aback, for not only had he forgotten about the paper, but he also considered it completely worthless. But the new king insisted he wanted only the paper and nothing else, so it became his gift. At first, the king's father seemed to be right about the paper. As the king sat at his desk by the window, trying to smooth its many creases, his father had crumpled it into a ball before shoving it into the mouth of the stone tiger. And as the king looked at it, he didn't see anything unusual about it. The king sighed and pushed away the paper. He had larger troubles to think about. The prior king had left him many problems. His walls had been the strongest walls ever built, but they too had been easily destroyed by the Jade River. And the old king, afraid of the desperation that would lead people into disorder, He had imposed strict laws with harsh punishments. As a result, the full prisons were threatening to overwhelm the guards, and there were also whispers of revolt. Was all lost before he had even begun? The new king placed his head in his hands to think, and when the sun fell, he still had not moved. It was in the light of the moon that the king finally stirred, and he lifted his head. He glanced at the paper, and then he stared. The paper had changed. On the paper was a line of words in a language the king did not know. As he puzzled over the words, a cloud covered the moon and they disappeared from the page. Just as the king began to curse himself, the cloud drifted and the words reappeared. The words only appear in bright moonlight, the king realized. So after much effort, the king finally deciphered the words, and those words said, "You are a leader only to those who choose to follow." You are a leader only to those who choose to follow. What did that mean? Days passed, but the king refused to believe that this was nonsense. So when he watched his men begin to build another wall to try to hold back the Jade River, the solution came to him. The old king had tried to control the water and the people with force, a method that was eventually doomed to fail. The new king realized he couldn't fight the water. He had to lead the water to where he wanted it to go and let the water follow. So immediately, the new king ordered the men to stop building the wall. Instead, he began plans for ditches and outlets for the river. The water became irrigation for farmland around the city. The floods subsided. The king made a series of proclamations encouraging building, trade, and virtue. Prosperity and peace came to the city, and slowly it became one of the most magnificent cities of the land, perhaps even outshining the emperor's capital city. The king often consulted the paper and quickly became famous for his wisdom. He renamed the City of Bright Moonlight, in honor of the light that revealed the words on the paper of answers. And that is the story of the paper of answers. So, the great city of bright moonlight was built because of a paper, Yishan said after Pinmai finished the story. Yeah, but it was a magic paper, Pinmai said. But most of the despair had left her. Perhaps telling Ama's story was a little kind of magic as well, for Pinmai felt just a little bit stronger. And is the paper still there? Ishan asked. No, Ama said the paper was given away and Pinmai sat up. Ishan, Pinmai continued slowly, there's no paper in the city of bright moonlight, but there is a dragon's pearl. Ama told me one of the kings of the bright moonlight gave away the paper of answers and received a dragon's pearl in return. Pinmai's rice spilled onto her lap, but neither she nor Yishan noticed. A dragon's pearl? Yishan said. Dragon's pearls, they glow. A dragon's pearl, it could be a luminous stone that lights the night, Pinmai finished. Then let's go to the city of bright moonlight, Yishan said, and let's get that dragon's pearl. But it might not be, Pinmai protested. I just said a dragon's pearl could be a luminous stone. Well, we should go to the city and see, Yishan said. It's our best chance to save Ama. But, but, stuttered Pinmai. 100 thoughts flew into her mind like a flock of upset crows. Go to the city? Save Ama? We couldn't. I couldn't. Pinmai, Yishan said in frustration. You think and watch and watch. When are you going to stop watching? It's time for you to do something. When it is time for you to do something, you will do it. Those are the words Amma had told her. Pinmai closed her eyes, imagining Amma's face gazing at her, as steady and gentle as the moon. When Pinmai looked up, Yishan's eyes were piercing hers, daring and encouraging at the same time. All right, Pinmai said, let's go. And that is where we stop for today.